Broadcasting live from the True Crime Today studios to the world. This is Murder in the Morning with Tony Bruschi and Stacey Cole.
It is Stacey Cole and Carol Hughes filling in for the vacationing Tony Bruschi. He will be back on, he'll be back next week. I don't know what day it is. I don't know. It's Friday morning. We record this about 12 hours before. So when you're listening to this, it'll be Friday morning. I've been thinking it's the wrong day all week. So who cares?
I have too.
And it should be Thanksgiving this week.
Yeah. And Thanksgiving's next week. And then I don't know. I'm confused because it doesn't seem like it should be Thanksgiving. So.
Well, but here's the thing. And this is totally off topic of anything we're going to talk about, but hasn't it always been that Thanksgiving is the third Thursday of November?
It's the last Thursday of November.
I know. I don't want to hear that because in my brain, it's the third Thursday.
I'm really,
so I'm
you know
so
what?
Screwed up.
You know what? Then you missed it because that would have been yesterday.
So
Did you notice that there was no parades or anything going on yesterday?
No, there's nothing. It's just what's happening in my world. This doesn't have a lot to do with murder, but when is Thanksgiving? I understand. I know it's next Thursday, but
it's the last Thursday.
Like it's always.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Yeah. According to Wikipedia, it's the fourth Thursday in November. So where have I been living for the last so many years?
Well, math isn't your thing.
That's a scary thought. I used to be a vet nurse, so that's terrifying.
No, I think because I guess it's possible there could be a fifth Thursday in the month, depending on the calendar. So I guess fourth. I've always thought of it as the last Thursday of the month, but that kind of makes some sense.
President Roosevelt solidified back in 1939 that it is the fourth Thursday. So for those of you who are out there, however you listen to our podcast and you're like screaming at your device going, "Hey, idiot." Forgive me.
Wow, I love that it only goes back to President Roosevelt times.
Gosh. Well, I wasn't alive then, so I don't have an excuse, but whatevs. Oh my goodness. That's a lot for me to process. So anywho, moving on, something that we do need to talk about is Bryan Kohberger. And sometimes Bryan Kohberger is not in the news at all. We don't hear about him for weeks and weeks. And then he's in the news and it's a big, big effing story. And today is a big story. They have now decided that, yes, he can face the death penalty if convicted. This came down yesterday. His defense team had argued to exclude the death penalty as a potential sentence, but their motions were denied. One of the big sticking points is that in Idaho, it's not just lethal injection. They have instituted that you can actually use a firing squad.
That just seems so 1800s to me.
Doesn't it?
Yeah.
It really does. My big concern is there's several people who end up doing a firing squad. It's not just one person because they don't want the burden on one person. So there's several, just like in electric chair, where there's several people who are pushing a button. Nobody knows which button actually did it. So that's how they do a firing squad. Nobody really knows who's got the real bullet, who really hit him, that kind of thing. But, say it's 5 or 10 people, those people are going to be affected, saying in their brains, I've killed somebody.
I would think so.
I would.
And I also do think it would be tough to be an executioner, even in a lethal injection case. But it just seems kind of barbaric. And I guess, but I don't know that, lethal injection is any better, but that just surprises me that you could still use a firing squad.
I'd like to think, and I don't want to trigger anybody and make anybody sad here. We're talking about death and murder. Of course, we should be, people should be sad, but we get a little immune to it at times. But I worked in the veterinary profession for 8 years, and under the supervision of a veterinarian, I've euthanized pets. And if it's done properly, it's peaceful. I mean, horrifically sad, but if it's done right, there's no pain to it because you sedate them beforehand. I think in the human realm, they sedate them. It's not just, oh, you're dead. Sorry. Bye. I don't know that. I've never looked into the process for humans, but I do know what part of the issue is the scarcity of the lethal injection drug. And I'm not exactly sure why. The veterinary profession does not have that issue. But what I do know is that the drug that's used for animals is not approved for human use. It's not approved by the FDA, which surprises me because ultimately that drug is to kill people. It's for death. So why does it need to be approved? It's not like you're going to test it out, and go, oh, yep, it works. I don't know. It's just a weird thing to me. I would rather, if I were on death row, I'd rather have, can you go over to the vet's office and pick up that drug? Because I'd rather have that than be shot.
Now, is this something that the families were consulted about? Like they want the death penalty, or has that even information? Is that information even out there?
To my knowledge, they do. They want justice served. They want, and they want it done swiftly. Now, I think I read yesterday that Bryan Kohberger's mom is not okay with the firing squad and death penalty.
No, that's her kid. No matter what he did, it's still her kid.
But what's interesting to me is that his family's been really quiet. They haven't shown up to the hearings. We haven't seen them. And it just surprises me. It just surprises me. I would think they would be there. I don't know.
I don't know. That's a tough one because if your kid is accused of this horrific these horrific murders, and they don't live there in Idaho, do they? Do they live across the country?
No. They are, I believe it's Pennsylvania.
So it would be a lot for them to get there. I don't know. Maybe when the actual trial comes along, they'll be there. But it would be hard. You want to support your kid. Do you want to support your kid in a murder trial? I don't know. I don't know how I would feel. I know I would have feelings about my kid getting shot in a firing squad or put to death. I would definitely have feelings about that. But, if this is what he did, I just worry about the families with death penalty cases because so often those are drug out forever. And they get so many other appeals because it's a death penalty case. They get so many other avenues to, hearings and things. It just seems like it would just drag out for the families forever because in Kansas, we have the death penalty. There have been people sentenced to death, but there haven't been any executions. I don't know in how long, like probably since the 70s or something. So these people are sitting on death row for years and years and years. And then because they're on death row, it just seems like there's this continuous appeal thing going on and just dragging the families through this every time.
Absolutely.
Is it better to just go life in jail and lock them up and never hear from them again?
That's how I would rather see it. I mean, just put him away. If he ends up being guilty, that's for a different discussion, but just put him away and be done. I understand it costs money, but it also costs a lot of money to be on death row. And if you do end up having to have him before a firing squad, again, my concern is for the survivors, the people who have to clean up after they've shot somebody, who have to actually do the pulling of the triggers. I mean, do we want people to be more traumatized? I mean, this community was already traumatized by what happened. Do we need to make it worse? I don't know.
And when is the trial scheduled for this? Or have they set the date? Do you know?
August 2025. But that's, with the star next to it, because who knows what's going to happen between now and then. I have a hard time believing that it's going to happen next August. It's going to be one of the highest profile trials and lengthy months. This trial is going to go on for months.
But you know what? I totally get why people would want to put him to death with what he's accused of doing.
Yep.
I can't argue that.
No, I guess I can't either. But, we're bordering on cruel and unusual punishment for somebody who did something cruel and unusual. Is it the eye for an eye concept? Is that where we are? Maybe. I don't know. I'm so torn. Sometimes I'm like, just take him down, be done. Put him in jail, let one of the other, Tony's always big on this, like let one of the other inmates take care of justice for us. I don't know. I guess we'll have to see, but now he can face the death penalty. It's on the table.
You're in the thick of a true crime saga, every detail sinking in, and then, wham, a commercial about something you couldn't care less about. It's like being served a microwaved dinner at a 5-star restaurant. But it doesn't have to be this way. Go for True Crime Today Premium Plus on Apple Podcasts. With True Crime Today Premium Plus, you get uninterrupted, ad-free episodes, extended interviews that dig even deeper into the muck, and early access so you can brag to your friends. It's like ordering the secret menu at a crime buffet. So, search for True Crime Today Premium Plus on Apple Podcasts, subscribe, and savor every twisted detail without interruption.